Hello, man. Welcome to Toolbox Online. And with me this morning is Greg Pipkin, a father of 5 children, ages 21 through 30. He's been married for 33 years. He has extended family in Zambia, where he's invested his life in great ways. He's an energy investor, advisor, and operator with 32 years Wall Street experience. And for today's purposes, he's a longtime friend of Toolbox. So, Greg, I'll just set it up with that. Tell us a little bit about how the pandemic and the shelter at home and the coronavirus has impacted your life.
The short answer to your question is that the pandemic has turned the entire world upside down and has given all of us time, a lot of time, to think about our life rhythms, especially our spiritual rhythms. So how's it affecting my world? As Tom said, first of all, I'm a sinner saved by the grace of God through Jesus Christ. After I took that step, my mission became, how do I honor and glorify God in everything I say and do? It starts with our personal walk with God, our quiet time, reading and studying the Word, and praying. Before the pandemic, like myself, like all of us, we had 1,000 excuses of being too busy and distracted to have our quiet times. You know what? Today we don't have an excuse. We should all read and study the Word and pray in our quiet time. But most importantly, we should focus on being still. As we are still with God, He promises to reveal Himself and to speak to us. This is a great time to find His will and His plan for your life and my life. What can we do to glorify and honor God today? Well, Jesus was clear about it, that He did not come to be served, but to serve others. And Jesus said, go and make disciples in Judea, Samaria, and the othermost parts of the world. Well, for me, my Judea is my family. Remember, we have an excuse of the pandemic to change your family rhythm. Think about writing letters to all of your family members. It'll shock them when they get a letter, especially if you talk to them about real things and your faith. Ask them on a daily basis how you can pray for them. Lead your family as often as you can in prayer. Samaria, what is my Samaria? It's the local community, Houston, Texas, and our country. Do not miss the opportunities during this crisis with your friends and your family to share the gospel. I know that sounds a sort of commonplace, but I have been shocked by the number of friends and people that might not have that active of a walk with God have been asking questions about my faith and are seeking truth at this time. Don't miss those opportunities with people that you haven't had time to discuss or share your faith with.
Yeah.
Reach out to COVID-19 victims. Many of them will ask you to pray for them. Again, these were good friends of mine that have come down with COVID-19. And I asked them how they were doing. And they responded with, at the end, will you pray for me? I'm scared. Find a way to serve in your community. Many people in Houston have been severely hurt financially, emotionally, and psychologically. My wife and I and the rest of my family, we're making lunch meals for impoverished Houston children through an organization called Kids Meal Inc. And then the last part, the outermost parts of the world, as Tom said in the beginning, my extended family is in Africa. I'm on the board of Family Legacy Missions, and we are an active supporter financially and with our time. The mission, if you're not familiar with it, exists to glorify God by empowering 14,000 vulnerable and orphan children in Zambia to live out their God given potential. Before the pandemic, we were feeding and educating 14,000 children in our 24 schools. Now, we, the Family Legacy Board and management, are making pandemic relief plans to protect and care for not only the 14,000 children in our program, but their households and their communities and our thousands of employees. How things have changed for me in less than a month. As politicians say, don't waste a crisis. Under the guise of the pandemic, ask yourself, what can I do differently on a day-to-day basis to glorify and honor God?
I love that. Is there a way, Greg, that guys could connect with Kids Meals Inc.?
There's a website, I think it's kidsmealsinc.org. It's actually run by Beth Harp out at the Memorial area. On a weekly basis, they were passing out like 3 or 4,000 meals a week. And now they're passing out 3, 4, 5,000 meals per day because a lot of schools provide meals to the young kids. And since we're not in school, a lot of kids are not eating lunch. Yeah. And so that's why we're stepping up the number of meals and lunches that we're preparing to help out those young children around Houston.
I heard I read a book years ago, actually, it was called Don't Waste Your Pain. It was like, the whole concept of it was don't go through the pain and not see some gain that comes out of it. And then a few years later, I saw a pastor who wrote a little article called Don't Waste Your Cancer, as he was going through cancer and talking about God using that to recalibrate and reset things in his life and to experience him and to move missionally in some different ways. And so I think in the same way, Greg, what I hear in you is like, well, don't waste the pandemic. I mean, there's needs around us. There's an opportunity to be the hands and feet and the eyes and ears of Jesus to many other people in a really fertile time. So thanks for being with us, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll try to keep a steady stream of opportunities to just kind of feed your soul and your mind as we move forward during this season. So thanks again for being with us, and God bless.